put myself today for all like the words and
Oh, yes, I can get the one here, yeah. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. نعم محمد matter of fact, Ilya, Mikhail, you sit here. Or better yet, Ibrahim sit with Muhammad and Muhammad sit with Ibrahim. Okay, so this is what, 7? 8. 8. 8. 7. Should it show up? I have the wrong. I'll change that when I go back in. Okay, class number 8, inshallah ta'ala. And this is, of course, is Jumu'ah. So Yom Jumu'ah is always review for that what we have taken so far. So we're going to begin with what we left off with, the review of this week. We're going to start with the alphabet that we took. We took how many consonants so far? 8. 8. We took 8 consonants. Who knows them?
Abba, ta, ta, at, tha, th, tha, tha, ad, jim, j, aj, ha, ah, kha, akh, dal, d, ad, dal, d, ad, dal, an,
MashaAllah. Sheikh. أب تات نعم نعم جيم أجل ها أجل نعم 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 دال د أد نعم دال 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 نعم 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 محمد
Ba, b, eb, sa,
don't wait on your head.
sa,
Put your elbows up.
sa, sa,
No. Ta, at.
sa, sa, s, jim, j, aj, ha, ah, ho, akh, dal, z, dal, da, ad, zal, z, al.
ba,
أب تا تا أد ثلاث أث
ليس أث.
أث
نعم.
جيم ج أج ح ح ه أه خ خ أخ دال د أد دال ذ أد
هل
ذ أد
ليس أت. أت. نعم. نعم. دال. نعم. You missed the day yesterday.
Huh?
Did you come yesterday? And be in the class. That. That. لا تا أت. أت. Big review. Big review. You're gonna need to make review. The classes are recorded, so you're gonna need to go and review those recordings and go over the alphabet completely. Right? That's all. Okay, next, we're gonna take the pronouns. Who has them? الضمائر المنفصلة. All of them? Yeah, okay.
أنا ونحن وأنت 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 وأنتما وأنتم وأنتنا وأنتن وهي وهو وهو وهي وهما وهن وهم وهن.
نعم. نعم.
أنا ونحن وأنت وأنت وأنتما وأنتم وأنهن وأنتم
نعم.
وهو وهي وهما وهم وهم.
نعم. نعم. Pull up chair. الله يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم. Allah said, oh, you believe when it said to you spread out in the gathering, spread out. Allah Ta'ala will open the way for you. Spread out for you. Now, spread out. تفسحوا. الفساحة, not fasaha. Fasaha means diction and eloquence. Fusha, speak properly. But fusha with a sin. You have fusha, fusha with a sad and a ha. the alif maqsura, and then you have fusha with the sin and the ha and the alif maqsura. Fusha means how can you say? Well, fushatun with the term marbuta, fusha, ha with the term marbuta, fushatun, it means like to go out for enjoyment, to go out to a park and like that. Nothing fusha, let's go out just and have some enjoyment. But something that is fasih, not fasih. Fasih means articulate. Or fasih, he's articulate when he speaks. Fasih with a sin, it means expansive, wide, free, not burdensome, and like that. Like the hadith, the Prophet said, ما زال المسلم في فصحى أو فصيحة من أمره أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام ما لم يصب دما. The Muslim, his affair concerning being forgiven by Allah Ta'ala is open, it's wide, even if he's committing sins, as long as he doesn't shed blood. As long as he doesn't shed blood. This is where it becomes problems, shedding blood. Say, nah. So shedding blood is really serious. Nah. Okay, so what's happening? We're doing the pronoun. First you have to do the alphabet and then the pronouns.
Got the pronouns right here, right?
Yep.
From yesterday, right?
Yeah. But the alphabet first. We took 8 letters.
I won't even remember that.
Yeah. Anybody that wasn't here, please review what? Review the videos. Review the videos.
I'm gonna try it though.
I really got to that.
So we took that, Jim, ha, ha, dal, that, da,
Bad,
but, ever,
habit.
ba, but, ever.
Bad, but habit.
Now, ta, at,
Bad,
ta,
bad,
now, Jim, edge,
Gene. Edge.
now, ha,
Had,
no, ha,
had,
no, ha,
had,
now,
Eh.
ha,
had,
now, ha, ah,
had,
ah,
ah,
ah. Now, the air has to come out. Ah. I said in the beginning class, I don't believe you were here. Sounds in Arabic are intentional. It's not like English. We talked about the SH and the STR in English. When they argue in phonics in English, should you make air come beside your teeth when you say words that begin STR like straight? Should you say straight or should you say straight? Which one? This is the actual argument in English phonics. I know is straight the way it said it, or is it said straight? And it's the straight right here considered a speech impediment. They talk about that in English phonics. So in Arabic, the sounds that are made with the pronunciation of the letters are very intentional because those sounds are means of making a distinction between each letter, especially those letters that come in close proximity to one another, that they might begin to resemble one another if those certain sounds are made. So you have ha in Arabic, right? So that ha has hams with it. It has air. It's called habs is so jariyan and nefes. So the air must continue to go even after you say the letter. Ha, right? Like yeah. Alhamdulillah. Now I want a word that ends with ha. Thinking of like morning. Say, araka fi subh. I see you in the morning. Subh is morning. Subh. So I say, araka fi subh. I don't say araka fi subh. If I do that, I've left the letter off the word. So I say, araka fi subh. Subh. That's letting you know that that word ends with a ha. Araka fi subh. Araka fi subh. Now, I see you in the morning. Now, so every sound is intentional. Jeen, that lets you know that was a jeen at the end of the word. Dal, that lets you know that was a dal at the end of the word. Ta, that lets you know it was a ta at the end of the word. Ta, a ta. When we get to that lets you know it was a ta at the end of the word. Each lam also, like for instance, a person will omit a letter from like the Uls, right? If he says, Qul huwa Allah, Qul, he has to complete the lam. Qul, 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 Qul is not Qul. Qul huwa Allah. People are saying Qul. Qul. And you know, Qul is the commanding verb for save or protect. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum. Save yourself and your family. So save yourself and your family from the fire. So if you say qu and then complete wallahu ahad, you're saying save, protect. Allah is one. Save, protect, seek refuge. So it's qul huwallahu ahad. The lamb, your tongue curls up with the lamb, it touches the roof of your mouth. So where were we? You're still okay, now. Had, ah. سورة الصف ومبشر من رسول يأتي من بعد اسمه أحمد. Ahmed. Not knowing the ha is what make people say Amadou, Ahmad, you know, because they're omitting the ha. It's Ahmed. 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 نعم هذا ها Now, okay. Kha, kha, ekh. Kha, kha, ekh. Kha, kha. Ekh. 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 Now. Del. Del. Ed. Now. Del. Now, this is Jariyat so with inhibas and nafas. This is the sound continues, but air doesn't come up. Air doesn't come up. Right. No. So this is when a person stops on vel in certain words like we'id. Don't say we'if. No. وإذ قال إبراهيم لأبيه آزر is that's for the zai and for the bal is ev. Now يؤزهم أزة يؤزهم أزة, right? Like that. So then إذ is not it. No, it's eating. And then it was continued. We'll go one more deep. So you did the alphabet. Now we'll go back. Who that person? Anna. 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 Yep. Anna. ونحن
أنا ونحن وأنت وأنتي
Oh,
Nah.
Yeah, is that Wamu?
وأنتما
Oh. What's the first one you start over again?
أنا
Ana. Wanahnu, Wa'anta, Wa'anti,
وأنتما
Wa'antuma,
Remember, we took those two together. وأنتما وأنتم وأنتن.
Wa'anta, Wa'anti, Watuma,
وأنتما
Wa'antuma, Wa'antum,
ها؟ لا. وأنتما وأنتم وأنتن.
Wa'antuma, Wa'antum, Wa'antunna, Tunna. Still going?
yeah.
My advice is everybody can go home, say it 50 times. Say it 50 times. أنا ونحن وأنت وأنت وأنتما وأنتم وأنتن وهو وهي وهما وهم وهن 50 times.
وهو وهي
وهما
وهما وهم
وهم
وهن
وهن. نعم. نعم. Okay, in the beginning, we took 8, no, it turned out to be 10, right? We took 10 lessons in the beginning of this class. Who remembers? Who has it?
I got the first one.
Okay, the first lesson.
The first lesson is how do you assess the value of a thing?
How do you assess the value of a thing was our first lesson. Who remember? Ibn.
I got the new.
You got it.
I got the news, yeah.
I got it. They don't have it.
Ibn. Don't have it. You can't eat.
After we had, how do we assess the value of the thing?
What's the answer?
Oh, what's the answer? The ease of difficulty to replace.
The
a
ease
thing.
or.
Ease or difficulty to replace a thing.
Now, so we said we assess the value of a thing by the ease or difficulty in replacing it. This is a life lesson, or what they call it now, or in the media, life hack or whatever like that. This is what you need. You guys, the younger brothers, you may not think you need this. You're going to need this. You're going to need this. This sentence of how to assess the value of a thing. You're going to need this, and when it comes to making decisions in your life, to know that you assess the value of a thing by the difficulty or ease in replacing it. The easier thing, the more easier thing is to replace, the less value it has. The more difficult the thing is to replace, the more value it has.
Can you use it like, can you use that for anything or just?
Anything.
It's like you got a special.
Like having a car.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just not have it?
And then replace it, how much money?
How much cost you
That
replace?
same one like that with that good stuff, you gonna get a little cheaper then.
Either way, it's still
Uh-huh.
cost you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can tell the people, a person that has an expensive car treats it different than a person that has an inexpensive vehicle.
Yeah.
Right? And you even see when something gets damaged or destroyed that is not valuable, you hear the person say, oh man, that only costs, right? They downplay it. It's not an issue. I have 100 of those. I got a bunch of those. Don't even worry about it. Somebody breaks it. Oh man, I got that from the dollar store. Right? But every time the value of that thing increases, oh, watch out, oh, be careful. No, sit over here. Right? the whole attitude changes when something costs. Right? The difference between somebody having an iPhone 3 and an iPhone 14. Are you going to treat it different or exactly the same? Right? But you be different, right? Why? There it is. There it is. And because of the price of it, right? It's harder, it's harder to replace. It's harder to replace. But so that's price. I would like to do myself, but I'm kind of shy to do it. If whoever has the heart to do it, if anybody that does public videos or anything like that, go into a commercial business and look at merchandise that they have, especially if they have pricey merchandise. Pricey, I'm using the word pricey for a reason. And ask them, what is the value of this? And if they quote to you the price, tell them, no, I don't want to know the price. I want to know what it's worth. They may think it's the same question. It's not the same question. The price of a thing and the value of a thing are two different things. Right? That's what one of my sayings is. Some people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. Some people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. So we want to know the value of things. Prices, they can be changed, they can go up, they can go down. You'll see something, it may cost $150. And then they say, what? Clearance. That same thing that was $150, $30. Whoa. So what's the value of it? If you can take it from 150 to 30, then what's the value of it in reality? And value in some cases, yes. Yes. Value in some cases is like beauty. Value in some cases is like beauty, right? It's an individual experience. It's an individual experience. Some people value things, what? That other people don't value. And it's some things that are not debatable. The value, they maintain their value no matter what and no matter where. An example of that, if you want to know the difference between value, which is an individual experience, what people value, and value that is unanimous, Allah Ta'ala has placed the sunnah, meaning the tradition of valuing these things, in the breast of mankind, to the point that wherever you go, these things are valued. Go to Surah Ali Imran, where Allah Ta'ala said, Zuyyina linnas, beautify for mankind, hubbu shahawat, the love of the things that they covet, they desire. Minan nisa. So women have value no matter where you go, whether it be in the haram or the halal. A woman has value. A woman has value. Minan nisa wal bani, children. Wherever you go have value. Once again, whether it be in the halal or haram. زين للناس حب الشهوات من النساء والبنين والقناطير المقنطرة من الذهب والفضة. And treasures piled up of gold and silver. Gold and silver has value all over the world, no matter where you go. There's no place where these things that we just first we mentioned doesn't have value. And then, from those three things that were mentioned, the type or the benefit that's derived from them either increases or depreciates their value. But they have value no matter where you go. Right? And then Nisa wal Bani, women and children, and treasures of gold and min al-dhahabi wal fidda, wal khayl, horses. Musawwamati, branded. So horses have value everywhere in the world. Wal an'am, cattle. Wherever you go has value. Wal harth, and land. These are the things that maintain their value. They always have trading power. You want to take it to the monetary perspective, those things that were mentioned will always have trading power. No matter where you go in the world, they will always have trading power. They will always have value. Then the level of the value is dictated by the level of the need and what they produce. The level of the value based on the level of the need and what they're able to produce. Right? So the more the need for that thing, the more valuable it becomes, valuable it becomes. The less the need for it, the less of a value that it has. I don't really need that.
That's like the dog, like the big dog and stuff, you know, you trade dog. What can it do, or like see what the value, what can it do,
Yeah, right. So sometimes value is what an individual assessment, but that sometimes you don't even need an individual to assess it. It's going to be valuable, even if a person denies its value. Well, it's valuable. You just don't understand the value of it. It's no, that's valuable. That's worth something. And like that. Nah. But things that cannot be replaced that are no doubt a need are very valuable. And at the top of that list, from things that are, I guess you can say this is tangible, things that are tangible is knowledge. Knowledge. Knowledge is priceless. I saw a bumper sticker years ago. It said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Think about how many times we've all probably been robbed because we didn't know what we should pay to have certain jobs done, especially with mechanics, lawyers, stuff like that. We didn't know what it should be. Man, you paid how much for that? That ignorant cost us.
Yeah.
You paid how much? That's only $30 and you charge $150. Saw you coming. So that level of ignorance in that particular situation made us end up paying more than we should have paid, and like that. Yeah. Now, so the first thing was how to judge the value of the thing. Next was what?
5, communication.
Human beings communicate in 5 ways. Human beings communicate in 5 ways. Who remembers? Sound, symbol, shapes,
and
signs,
and
gestures. Now, so sounds, symbols, shapes, signs, and gestures. These are 5 ways human beings can communicate. Signs, symbols, shapes, sounds, and gestures.
One of the times he told us about.
It wasn't class. We were just getting class to the salat. And we were talking about, I was talking about when we started the Arabic class, this was some of the stuff.
Yeah.
The 5 ways,
Signs like stop sign, yield sign, all of the signs that we make. Symbols like the plus, the symbol for addition, subtraction, the skull and the cross that shows poison, you know, and all of that. These are all signs that are used to communicate. Signs. What we say? Signs, symbols, shapes, like hexagon, octagon, all of that. It shows to what? Dimension. Yeah. Circles, shapes, squares is in order to express dimension. Architecture. In architecture, they use this in order to show the dimension that they want the building to be built in and like that. Built in. Now, what else did we say?
Shapes and sound.
Sounds, also sounds. And remember we said sounds, they don't have to be words. Sounds are understood in communication even if they're not words, like all of that, right? Right? All of that is communication. And also we said gestures, hand gestures, head gestures, eye gestures. And you know, it's funny, the winking of the eye is a gesture of deception. And it's dislike. And it's an amazing story during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the winking of the eye. Is that after the conquest of Mecca, there were men who wrote lewd poetry about the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when the Prophet went in, he told the people, whoever goes to the house of Abbas, his uncle, will be safe. It shows they surrender. And whoever goes to the house of Abu Sufyan, he's safe. It shows they surrender. And he mentioned other locations you could go to show that you don't want to fight, right? And then He said, as far as those men that wrote the poetry about my wife, this shows the obligatory jealousy that a Muslim was at. He said, as far as those men, and this is, of course, during a battle or a possible battle, because he's conquesting this land. He said, as for those men who wrote the poetry about my wives, then catch them and kill them, even if they're hanging them to the curtain of the Kaaba. So, he fled. I believe one was caught, one fled, and they were searching for the other. It's 3 of them. So the Prophet ﷺ was sitting, and he popped out of nowhere, ran up on the Prophet ﷺ and said, "Ya Rasulullah, I want to accept Islam. I want to accept Islam. So the Prophet was silent. And the Sahaba was sitting on the Prophet. They're sitting there. Man. Prophet ﷺ remained silent. He repeated it. Ya Rasulullah, I want to embrace Islam. Prophet remained silent. So he said that on the 3rd time, I want to embrace Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ turned to him and gave him shahada. And then after he ran off, after he took shahada, he left. The Prophet ﷺ turned to the Sahaba and said, what stopped one of you from striking his neck? So they said, "Yeah, wow. You didn't give us a sign, you didn't give us an indication." He said, and then Umar said, you could have winked your eye to let us know. He said, never, no prophet had an eye that winked. No prophet had an eye that winked, because that's deception. It's a sign of deception. And this is from the ways of the Jews. Winking an eye.
Oh, we do it all the Jews. We do it all the time.
No. Now, so where are we at now?
3 types of languages.
Okay, now we said the next thing we took is that there are 3 types of languages. Look at it.
Spoken, not written.
Spoken and not written. You have any examples?
Like, kind of like being illiterate, because you could speak the language, but you can't write it.
No, we want a language
Oh,
that is spoken.
no.
Spoken, not written. A language that is spoken, but nobody writes it.
Mandinga.
Mandinga.
Wow,
Yeah,
we write this one.
Huh?
We write it.
With what alphabet?
There's African alphabet for it.
You have an alphabet.
My wife write it. No, I don't have it.
Oh, you have it. Okay. It has an actual alphabet.
Yes.
Because the only people I knew write Mandinga write it with the English alphabet.
No, we have alphabet for it.
Okay, we're going to take Mandinga off the list. Mashallah, we're going to take Mandinga off the list.
Wallet.
Wolf. Rutana, the one I do know, Rutana, in Sudan. So we got a benefit now. If somebody knows Mandinga, and it actually has an alphabet. Mashallah. What else? We said Rutana, Mandinga, Wolof, Fulani, languages that are spoken and not written. Remember, we said in order for a language to be considered spoken and written, has to have its own alphabet. That's why I said that to the brother. If it's written with someone else's alphabet, it means it's not a written language. It's not a written language until it's written with its own alphabet. Its own alphabet.
The Mandingo is spoken in Mali, and because Mali have problem with French, they're trying to give up French, and they're gonna speak Mandingo and write it in Mandingo.
Yeah. Right now, they're doing the same thing in Tanzania, Kiswahili, and they're going back to at least the education system and the law and the legal system all being in Kiswahili. They're going back to that. They will give up the language of the colonizers. So alhamdulillah. But the problem is they have to go back to the alphabet, because right now Kiswahili is written with the English alphabet, the Latin alphabet is written with that. And that was on purpose. They tried to do it with Arabic in Egypt and say they also tried to do it with Arabic in Egypt to write Arabic with English alphabet. Once they take your alphabet away, they got you. Took your language. Now, those languages. So any language that's not written with its own alphabet is what? What? Bambara.
No.
Teach us. What's Bambara? Bambara has an alphabet?
That's the same as Mandingo, just a different name.
Yeah.
Bambara and Mandinga is the same. Okay.
Yeah, I have many names.
Okay. So spoken and not written. What else?
The second was written, not spoken.
Written and not spoken, like hieroglyphic writing. What else?
Latin.
Latin.
Spoken and written.
That's number 3. And then number 3 is spoken and written, which is like what?
When you say Latin, it's not spoken.
Yeah.
That's now, when I was in elementary school, which was shocked. I had my best friend was Catholic. I mean, he's black. And I couldn't believe it because everybody black was Protestant. Baptist. So I went to church with him. And when I went in there with him, just to visit, I did so many, bowing and all that stuff. And the sermon was in Latin. I mean, big. The priest actually spoke Latin. That understand the word. And I know it's not, they don't speak to that. So the way
Exactly.
they don't speak it no more.
It does. It's like it
Figure it out.
faded out. That was exactly what that faded out. We studied Latin in school, and my mother made a big fuss about that. Don't teach our children this dead language. What are they going to do with this language upon graduation? Like, it's like, can you become a translator? Can you write a book? And like, what can you do with Latin? And then they adopted Spanish. Then the parents got together and said, no, give our children a language that when they finish school, they can actually use. They were giving us Latin too. If I was in the
Speaking Latin, I ain't never heard.
Yeah. Now, all your medicine is in Latin, right?
Medicine?
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. Understand about those medical words and terminologies, majority of them are from Latin. Majority of them from Latin.
So like that, what is that white pill called?
Ibuprofen.
Ibuprofen?
I don't know specifically that word.
That's Latin?
I said specifically that word. I don't.
I could probably ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Next, we said written and spoken like what?
English.
English, Arabic, Spanish, French. Right. Exactly. Okay. What was next?
Languages have families. Oh no, what is a language? Sorry.
What is a language?
That's a group of.
Hamza.
Yeah, a group of words that make up.
That's a word. Muhammad.
Wait.
What is a language?
A language is symbols and sounds and shapes
That's a language.
and wait, symbols, sounds, and shapes. I don't know. Oh,
Gestures.
That's the same.
Go ahead, Mikhail.
A language, what is a language? Is a group of gestures, sounds, symbols, shapes, signs that carry a meaning used by a group of people of wants and needs.
To express.
To express their wants.
Right. So the 5 ways humans communicate, these are what make up a language. The 5 ways that humans communicate, these are what make up a language. So a language is what? A group of
People.
gestures, sounds, shapes, symbols, and signs used by a group of people to express their wants and needs to one another. This is everything that makes up a language. So that's a language.
Words.
Which one another is like.
Uh-huh.
It's just that.
Two of them up here.
Languages have families.
And then after that, we said languages have families. They have a family of languages. Semitic languages, they're all in one family. Hamitic languages, they're all in one family, right? And the way you know the family is number 1, by the alphabet. So if they share the same alphabet, then they're in the same family, they're included. If they share the same sounds, they're included in the same family. Definitely if they share both of them. Now, sharing the same alphabet doesn't necessarily mean that all of the alphabets are gonna look exactly alike, but the majority of the time, that's how it goes. If you look at English, Spanish, Italian, and French, it's the same alphabet. Same shapes. Same alphabet. Uh-huh. Yeah, same exact alphabet, just a different sound. Yeah. Same exact alphabet. So all of these languages come from the same family. All of these languages come from the same family. Likewise, Arabic, Hebrew, Urdu, Persian come from the same family. All Semitic languages come from the same family. So languages form family. If you can get and master one of them, normally the toughest one of them, right? Whatever is considered to be the toughest, then the rest of them will be easy. You can learn that whole language family. You can get that whole language pool. Yeah, the whole language pool.
And then the next one is what is a letter?
The next one is what is a letter? So remember, Ibu?
A symbol, and a sound, that make up a letter.
A symbol or shape that represents a sound.
A symbol or shape which represents a sound. That's a letter. It's a symbol or shape which represents a sound. So anytime you see a letter, when you see it, what is wanted from you is to make the sound that that letter represents, whether it be verbally or in your mind. Because when people read, that's what they're doing. They're mentally sounding out those shapes. The whole point of an alphabet is in order to express the sounds. And this is why the number of alphabets in a language differ, right? We have what, 24 letters in French, 26 in English, 28 in Arabic, 30 in Russian, right? Why? Because each of those letters represents how many sounds those people make when they speak, no matter how long or short the word is. All of the sounds that they make, and all of the words sum up in English to be 26 sounds. Through the whole alphabet, 26 sounds. All of the sounds in French, through all of the whole language, 24 sounds. And like that. So each letter represents the sounds that are made. So when they say, you say, well, how did they get to 26 letters in English and 24 in French and 28 in Arabic? Because they counted the number of sounds that they make. That's it. That's the end. That's how many sounds they make. No.
The Russian got about 30, you know Russian?
30. No, I don't. But I just studied the origins of languages. When coming up with my curriculum, I studied languages and how they're learned from native speakers. Languages and how they're learned from the native speakers. So I counted out the consonants and vowels. I think Russia has 10 vowels. Right? The last time I was, when I was doing the study, I was really attentive to it. But it's been some years. But I looked at how many consonants and how many vowels of each language that I looked into, and the sounds that they make, and how the difference between the languages having double consonants, consonant blends, and things like that. When do people actually study grammar in their own language? Because this is a successful tradition, and I found that it's no difference across the board. How language is learned by the native speakers, it has one tradition across the board. Russian, Chinese, Spanish, English, Arabic. The native speakers always learn with the same methodology. Native speakers. So, this was when I was writing my curriculum, the Arabic tongue for non-Arabs. And I looked at the curriculum that are available, and every curriculum I saw, no matter how good it was deficient. Every curriculum has a deficiency. Even there's going to be deficiencies in my curriculum. However, the most important foundations of language, I find them all curriculums lack the most important, except for those curriculums that were put together for the native, to teach the native. They are all complete. So I formulated the curriculum in order to teach the non-native the same way the native will be taught. That's not what we're studying now. We're studying everyday Arabic. That curriculum is called the Arabic Tongue for Non-Arabs. And that, we go through it the same way native will be taught. So that the person comes out not fluent, comes out native, not fluent. Yes. So it's the same thing. Nobody begins with grammar. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see. Almost every Arabic program starts off with grammar to a non-native speaker who has a deficiency in the vocabulary, who has major mistakes in his pronunciation, which leads to a gap in comprehension. And they start off, هذا باب, هذا مفتاح, هذا. But those programs are good. And this is we talk about how to read a book. For where they were, let's take for instance the most famous of the Arabic programs out there, Medina books. The Medina books. Listen to the name, the title. When we say we read a book, you read the title first. What's the title of that course? I just said it. Medina books. Means that they were written in order to be studied in Medina. That's why they don't have the same impact anywhere else. Because they were written, if you look at the examples in the book, in the scenarios, it's all about either applying to the University of Medina or traveling to Medina and going to the clinic and or going to the student reception. And so it was written for people to come out of class and implement it there in Medina. So people that are not in Medina, they don't get the same impact because that was written to have an environment to back it up. And that's when you'll see the suggested or desired results of the Medina book. You'll see them when they're taught in Medina. Outside of Medina, you need supplementary additions in order to fill in where they left off. They're deficient. They're not deficient because it was bad authoring or was wrong. They're deficient because they weren't written for the environment they're being taught in that. So it had to be a program that was designed in order for non-Arab to learn Arabic in a non-Arab environment. And this is why they send a lot of Arab is a 3-year course. Because it's designed for people that are not going to be in an Arab environment studying, but still able to reach the level of nativity, inshallah. No. Who's next?
3 characteristics of a letter.
We said there are 3 characteristics of a letter. What are those characteristics?
Its name, its shape, its sound.
Its name, every letter has a name. Alif, ba, ta, tha. These are the names of those letters. Each of them have a shape. The shape is what you see when they're written. And each of them has a sound, and that's what we're studying now at this point in our class. This is the first level of studying an alphabet. This is the first level of studying an alphabet. You recognize the shape and the name of that shape. And then after that, you attribute a specific sound to that shape. This is what enables you to speak and read. Read more than speak. What enables you to read is to identify those shapes which are called letters. You know them by name, you know them by their shape, and you know them by the sound that they make. So you know the name of it, and you know that that name is given to that shape. Like if you see that shape right there, you're going to automatically give it a name, microphone. You see that shape right there, you're going to say, oh, laptop. You see that shape right there, mouse. Shape right there, glasses. All of these physical images have a name to them. You give it that, but they don't represent a sound. So you don't make a sound when you see them. Letters are different from that. You add a sound to the image that you see. So you see that image. What's the name of that image? Tab. What's the name of that? Golf. Like that. What's the name of that image? Whatever the name of that image is, and then what sound does that image represent? Ah, that, add that, yeah, edge it. You attribute the sound to the image. Next.
What is a word?
What is a word? Very important. What is a word? What did we say? What is a word?
A word is a group of letters carrying a specific sound brought together to point. Huh?
To point to.
To point to a specific meaning.
Okay, that's a word. Right? A group of letters. So every group of letters don't make a word. Every group of letters, no matter what language, doesn't make a word. So this is very intentional. The words of form is intentional. It's a group of letters brought together, right? To do what? Make a specific sound. We talked about that before. If the sound is off, that's not the word. Right? If somebody said, Peluvu Franci. You understand that? Peluvu Franci. Parlez-vous français? Right? See, if you said, if you take the sound away, it's a problem. Parlez-vous français? So when those groups of letters come together, it's not sufficient to stop there. They make a specific sound. If you don't make the sound that they were intended to make by coming together, you're not saying the word. You're not speaking the language. That goes for every language. Every language. Remember we wrote on the board last week. We wrote this on the board last week. Who remembers?
Pahone.
Pahone.
Oh, yeah.
We wrote this on the board last week. Pahone. And nobody said, everybody said, what? I said, Pahone, what's wrong? Pahone, don't you have a Pahone? I said, no. No, because it's phone. These letters came together to make a specific sound. When that sound is not made, two things are going to happen. You're not going to be understood and you're not going to understand, especially if you think you're saying the right thing, right? Especially if you think you're saying the right thing. So it's a group of, a word is a group of letters that are brought together to make a specific sound. Now, after that, the last and most important point, that carry a specific meaning. That carry a specific meaning. So now, let's say the person, he has the letters right. He has the sound right, but he's using it for the wrong thing. He's using it for the wrong thing. So he has the letters and the sound right. For instance, when some people say what? No, I wasn't talking to everybody. I was talking to you specifically. So now the letters and the sound is right. Pacific is a real word. But the way I'm using it, is that correct? I'm talking to you specifically. Can you talk to somebody specifically? Huh? Huh?
Trying to figure out how to say
How to say it.
Specifically, right? So specific. So when somebody say Pacific, the word isn't wrong. The use of the word is wrong. If they want to say Pacific, they have to be talking about a body of water. Body of water, right? But if we turn Pacific to a language, we're gonna have to turn Atlantic to a language. You talk to me Pacifically, I'm gonna talk to you Atlantically. Right? Like I said before.
That'd be like you some it's normal. I was really talking to you Pacific, I was really talking to you Pacific though.
Yeah, he said, well, I didn't hear you because I was listening Atlantic, so that's why I didn't hear you. Right, so it comes to that. Now, what's next?
Perfecting the language.
Perfecting a language. Any language, it's not just for Arabic. Any language you want to perfect is based on three fundamentals. What are they?
proper pronunciation,
Proper pronunciation is number one.
sentence structure,
Sentence structure is number two.
vocabulary.
Vocabulary is number three. So if the pronunciation is off, especially if the pronunciation is off on the letters, then a word, like we just said, is a group of letters. So we bring a group of letters together that are not pronounced correctly, the word is just going to turn into mush. The word is going to be over. Why? Because the letters pronunciation is off. So proper pronunciation is stage one. Sentence structure is stage two. If things that should be put before are put behind, you know, doing how you. What's wrong? Dwayne, how are you?
Wise you are.
Huh? Right? So sentence structure is important. If you put things that should be ahead, behind the head, then also you're not gonna understand and not be understood. Sentence structure number 2. And last but not least,
6 divisions of
vocabulary. Vocabulary. And many people say, what should I learn when I'm learning a language? What vocabulary word should I learn first? Right? Okay, vocabulary. Vocabulary, 6 categories. 6 categories. The first category is what?
general.
General vocabulary. Anyone learning a new language has to learn general vocabulary first. And general vocabulary, excuse me. The general vocabulary, in the most simple way to express it is what?
The words that you use on the daily.
Right.
What?
What-
Everything.
Mhm. Right?
Proper sentence structure.
So any word that you need to cope, to exist, to interact, that you can't go without to live in your native tongue, you need to know those same words in the target language. Because we said before, people's needs and wants and necessities are the same worldwide. Food, clothing, shelter, medical care. So whatever you need to achieve those things in your native tongue, that's what you're going to need when you're learning a new language. To learn those same words. To learn those same words. That's general vocabulary. Next,
Words with meaning.
words with meaning. And we said word with meaning are words that what? Remember. We said words that you automatically understand what they mean when they're mentioned. You say them, the person, a picture pops in the person's head because he knows what the word means. Chair. Right? Okay. Okay, I know what a chair is, you know. And however you want to define it, an object that's used for sitting that has whatever, however you want to say, it's a chair. Something pops in the person's head. Fan, door, wall, ceiling, floor. These are words with meaning, right? So this is the second type of vocabulary that people learn. Next,
Tool words.
tool words, or another way I express it is words without meaning. Words without meaning. Somebody say, well, how can a word not have a meaning? Because these are words that when you mention them outside of a sentence, nothing is understood from what you're saying. Like to, not the number, to, from, over. Somebody comes and says over. Over what? Under. But. And. In, out, like that. So these words are tools. If you look at these words, these conjunctions and prepositions, they're used to connect what? Thoughts, phrases, sentences. So they connect the idea. Without them, you can't even have speech. Because in order to connect thoughts, from them also are pronouns. These are tool words. These are tool words. Now, so tool words. Next.
Specific vocab.
Specific vocabulary or Pacific, which one? Okay, specific vocabulary. Specific vocabulary is every word that is used as a terminology for a specific field of work or study. So for instance, we look at what?
Medical jargon.
Medical jargon. The words that are used in medicine. You don't need them anywhere else for most of the part. So if a person lacks this vocabulary, it's no problem. Tool words in general vocabulary is how you become fluent. Tool words in general vocabulary. Those two together make up speech that people use every day. Specific vocabulary is what? That's for each field. We said it doesn't matter how high a person's education is. They can leave out of their field and be totally ignorant in the next field. You take, we gave the example, take a doctor, goes to the mechanic, he's lost. PhD, goes to the mechanic and he's in school now. Mechanic didn't have to finish high school. As long as he knows everything concerning his work, then he's the scholar and the doctor's the student. That's how it goes.
Oh, and then the next one's active vocab.
Active vocabulary. We said active vocabulary is every word that, when you need it, it comes from your brain to your tongue. This is what creates fluency. Anytime you need it, somebody says it, you respond automatically. Next.
Inactive vocabulary.
Huh?
Inactive vocabulary.
Inactive vocabulary. We said inactive vocabulary is what?
It's like when you have to think about it, like when you're talking and you have to think about whatever you're about to say.
Exactly. Any word that you have to dig into your mental dictionary to find it, it's because it's inactive. You may not use it much. Right? This is inactive vocabulary. We say, it's just on the tip of my tongue. What's the word? It's because not using it, but it's called inactive vocabulary. So the more you use words, the more they will be readily rolling off your tongue, and this also creates what? Fluency. Now, let me give you some tools, whether it be for you young brothers that are in school, and even if not in school, some tools in order to make your vocabulary more active. Read. Read. And when you read, read aloud. Do not read silently. Read aloud. No, I'm just talking about the vocabulary that you know to make it active. It has to come off your tongue. So what do? You're gonna read. And the more you read, the more active your vocabulary becomes through reading. And read aloud, never read silent. Never read silent unless you're in a situation where it's gonna bother someone else. But other than that, when you read, read aloud, especially if you're reading Quran or Hadith or books of religion. Read aloud. This also aids in increasing your memory, reading aloud. Especially when you read the same thing. I said before, I would rather read one book 10 times than to read 10 books. I would rather read one book 10 times than to read 10 books. Read aloud. Also, when it comes to Arabic, when we get to reading it like that, it's going to help you speak because you're used to saying it. And it's going to let you hear where your mistakes are. When you read aloud, it's going to let you hear where your mistakes are. You'll hear it yourself. Then you'll know what your teacher is talking about and say, no, you didn't say that right. You're going to hear yourself saying, oh, I didn't say that. Yeah, like that. Okay? Was there anything else?
No.
That was it. That's our review for today. Jazakumullahu khairan.
I'm thinking everybody, they really teach us the right way to do it. I don't remember,
Yeah. And see, all of that goes to the teacher. The teacher, because teachers had different styles. So there may have been a teacher, depending on the teacher you had, the curriculum is one thing, right? That's why I say it's a difference. You can take this as a note. Your brother, y'all can leave if you want. So you can take this as a note. Knowledge is disseminated in 3 ways. And all 3 ways are used in the sentence. Knowledge is disseminated in 3 ways. The first way, and the most famous way, is teaching. Now, teaching is dissemination of information that was absorbed. The dissemination of information that was absorbed so that the learner understands it. That's the teacher. He disseminates information that he or she absorbed so that the learner understands it. The deficiency in teaching is that it is not required for a teacher to ascertain implementation of the information. Just that it's understood. And after that, at that point, you're responsible. Once the teacher knows that I explained it to you, did you understand? Okay? Everything's on you. The implementation of that information is not a concern of the teacher. Number 2 is indoctrination. Indoctrination is in reality to ascertain that the learner mimics the teacher, regardless of understanding or not. So understanding when indoctrination is being done is not a condition. It's not a condition. You don't have to understand. You just have to do it. Right? Anytime a teacher wants to ascertain the development of their student, they say, did you understand? Do you understand? Someone indoctrinated say, did you see me do that? Did you hear me say that? Just follow. The third and the most important way is education. The third and most important way is education. Education and educator is an individual that disseminates, or education is the dissemination of information while ascertaining that the learner understands and applies.
Bring it back one more time.
It's the dissemination of information while ascertaining that the learner understands and applies. And applies. Islam is taught in all three ways. Islam is taught in all three ways. The Prophet ﷺ came and taught Islam. And he told the companions with zakat, or the pillars of Islam. He told the companions the pillars of Islam. However, at the same time, Allah Ta'ala told the Prophet ﷺ, ذكر إنما أنت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر. Remind, for indeed you are a reminder, and you were not sent to control them, force them to do it. Right? So you see some things that the Prophet ﷺ taught, he said it and left it to the people to actually implement it themselves. So he taught them. Right? He taught them that way. So that was teaching. Other incidents, the Prophet ﷺ was to be followed without questioning, regardless of understanding, like when he kissed the black stone. Where'd he kiss the black stone? Why? The Prophet ﷺ did it. What's the wisdom behind it? The companions didn't ask what was the wisdom behind it. Who are you? Umar radiallahu anhu, when he went to the black stone, he kissed it, he said, I know that you are only a stone. And I know that you cannot bring benefit nor harm. If it wasn't for the fact that I saw the Prophet kiss you, I wouldn't have kissed you. That's sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. That's indoctrination. So we simply, those instances where the Prophet ordered us to follow him without explanation, we follow him without explanation. This is why the highest description of the people of taqwa in the Quran comes in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in unseen. Those who believe in unseen. Right? And then education. The Prophet educated the Sahaba. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. He got in front of them and pray as you have seen me praying. So he gave it, and then he ascertained that they implemented it. Right? Legislation was put in place for those who don't pray. Legislation was put in place. The same thing with zakat. Explain to people how to pay zakat. Legislation was put in place for those who don't pay the zakat. Right? Ramadan, he taught the fasting of Ramadan. There's nothing, no punishment, nothing set up for those who don't fast on Ramadan. That's between them and Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah. Right? Other things in which it was either education or indoctrination, you see that there are legislation put up for those who don't do it. There's a punishment in the dunya and the akhirah. Things where the Prophet just taught, and it's up to you to implement, there's no punishment in the dunya. Of course, it's going to be a punishment in the akhirah, but there's no punishment in the dunya for it, like fasting on Ramadan. Prophet said fast, he taught how to fast and how to fast, but after that is no checking. But for zakat, there's a check and balance. Did these people pay the zakat? Okay, go seize it from them. The salat, okay, this individual banned the salat. Arrest him and give him 3 days to establish the salat. Things are put in place. Same thing with Hajj, it was started. So there's nothing in the set up in the dunya for those who don't make Hajj. Go seize them and like that. No. So teaching, indoctrination, and education. So that's just a little tidbit. Inshallah, Next week we'll be back at it. Now,
That's the question.
I-
Like you're saying, how school is different, like when you were saying reading, I go way back.
now,
We
mashallah.
was taught, like you said, to read out loud.
Yeah.
And have a dictionary.
Yep, and have a
So
dictionary,
when
yeah.
you was reading, when you didn't know a word,
You look it up,
and then you wrote it down.
yeah,
Like I said, we read loud to hear it.
yeah,
And you have a dictionary, and like you say, to keep, to understand what you was reading, comprehend.
and for Arabic, that's a good point you mentioned to have a dictionary, because for Arabic, for new learners, the best dictionary, in my opinion, is Al-Mawlid, Al-Mawlid, the big red one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's Arabic to English, and they got English to Arabic,
I got two small ones.
yeah, the Mawlid.
But I bring it to you.
That Mawlid dictionary, mashallah, very good for building vocabulary, very good. Yeah, Mawlid, it's red, it's big red, it's by Ba'labak.
Okay.
Ba'labak.
I just know.
Mawlid, I spelled in English, M-A-W-R-I-D. Yeah,
Maybe what?
R-I-D. Mawlid, the Mawlid. I don't have my phone.
I would say if you put on, I think it is wrong, they're correct.
Yeah,
I got three different ones. I'm gonna check what I think, when Borders was going out of business, I was trying to get.
I didn't know.
I mean, it's way back,
Mhm.
I was trying to get, but see, a lot of them, they didn't bring them prices down.
Mhm.
You know, and that's not when you were saying, it kicked in right quick, when you talk about the value. I talk about my children and others, I said, when we go shopping, I say, how can you go get something every day, like you said, it's this price? Then Black Friday come down and it's less than 50, 60, 70%. So in other words, I tell myself, if I really need something, if I have to wait till the whole next year, I wait till Black Friday. I'm not gonna get ripped off, and I can see you charging me 70, 80% higher than what the value is.
Actually, value.
And I'm gonna go in there and pay that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I just.
capitalism is best.
Right.
Capitalism is best.
You never thought about it. When you're an old person, okay, a lot of things, plus when you're younger, when you're taking care of them, you don't have one. I can tell my children, I get overtime, then you get something.
Yeah.
On the regular, whatever, then it's food, clothing, something. I mean,
You know, and one of the scholars of the Salaf told his son, it's his son, man. He said, "Oh, my son," and it's basically off the tafsir of the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah Ta'ala said, no. والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون. والله يقبض, and Allah Ta'ala restricts ويبسط and extends his provision. He restricts the provision and he extends it. So he said to his son, Allah Ta'ala restricts and extends. So when Allah restricts your provisions, then you restrict what you give to your family. And when he extends, you extend what you give.
I didn't know about it then, but that's what I
Nah,
always.
When I got it.
Yeah, and this is how a person maintains balance. And this is how a person maintains الرجولة والقوامة في بيته. He maintains his manhood and his authority in his house. Because many times those under authority, women and children, they ask for things outside of the time when it's being extended.
Yeah.
Don't be shy to restrict. Allah's restricted. Allah said this is what he does. So don't let them convince you that what? That you're not being restricted. I'm being restricted right now. So if I'm being restricted, I'm going to restrict. But the issue is, as men, we still have to have balance that what? When it's extended, to extend. Because if we restrict when it's restricted and restrict when it's extended, then at that point we fall into what? Al-bukhl, stinginess.
But this you got the
Right.
You got the right to take it.
Right? Well, that's only if the person restricts to the point she doesn't have a necessity. Yeah. Only time a woman has a right to take from her husband's wealth without his permission is if he's stingy to the point that she doesn't have what she, her necessities or her needs. So if her necessities or her needs, are restricted, then at that point she can take it. Nah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك